Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present our 2022 Community Builders. Anita and Ralph Byer.
I was born in Miami Beach, spent most of my life in Broward, and I just think it's important to improve the community. And we feel very blessed that we were born into maybe the right family, right time, right community, and we want to make sure that anybody who doesn't have that same opportunity can maybe get it through our charity and the other community builders, charitable funds.
When you go out in the community and look at ways to give, this has set up an endowment for us. This lives on past our lifetime. And I always talk to our clients about what do you want to be remembered for while you walk this planet, but more importantly, what do you want to be remembered for when you're gone? And there's very few ways to make a long-term legacy, and the Community Foundation does that. And there's just great people that work here. There's great people that have donated and will continue to donate and just keep expanding this forever.
Jean and David Colker.
My husband was always very generous. He started with nothing, but love. And when I saw a need, I said, what good is money sitting in a safe deposit box doing nothing? Helping people makes you feel good. And if you feel good, that's good for your health. But now that I'm 100 years old, there's going to be money left, and who's going to spend it wisely? We work too hard to get that money. I don't want it to be wasted. And I think I'll be gone, but Community Fund will be here long after I'm gone. And I love Broward County. I've lived here over 60 years now. I've seen so many changes, and I want it to be good for everybody. I am grateful to be in this room that is filled with people that go to work every day to make Broward County a better place. Pat yourselves on the back.
Donald and Patricia Collins.
They love Broward County. They started many, many years before they moved down here, coming down, leaving their boat here for a half a year, the winter times, of course, and they would live on board the boat over at Pier 66. And that's really the reason why we zeroed in on the Broward Community Foundation. Broward was everything to them. That was their friends, their yacht clubs, their boating, and their social life. And they wanted to do something meaningful with the money that they'd been blessed to have. And so turning to the Broward Community Foundation was the right answer for them.
The Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation. The Frederick A. DeLuca Foundation Incorporated was created in 1997 by the late Frederick DeLuca, co-founder of the global Subway restaurant chain, to provide youth and adults the tools to achieve independence and self-sufficiency. Since its inception, the foundation has focused on providing educational scholarship opportunities and grants to community-based organizations in the state of Connecticut. Today, the foundation supports health access and awareness, workforce development, and artistic experiences through educational programs that enhance the lives of children and families throughout South Florida and beyond. Steve and Madeline Halmos.
It's important to my family to be philanthropic, particularly here in Broward, because our roots go deep here. I've lived here in South Florida since 4th grade. I got married here, I've raised my children here, we built a family here, I built my business here. As I said, our roots go deep. And if we're able to give back to the community here, that's what we want to do. To us, it's very important to fund things that relate to education, to children, particularly those that are less fortunate than we are. When we decided to establish a fund like this, there was never a question in my mind as to where to put it. The Community Foundation is the perfect spot for a fund like this. We know that the fund will be safe, we know it will do its intended purposes, and we know it'll be here long after we're gone. Not that I plan on going anywhere anytime soon, but we know it'll be here long after we're gone.
Pat Owen.
One thing about Pat that always sort of stood out, Buzz, that's her husband, had an airplane, a small plane. So Pat learned to fly before she could drive. Now, doesn't that sound like her? Then they had an increased interest in boating and fishing and sailing, so they moved to Fort Lauderdale. They had a sailboat built in Oslo, Norway, and sailed it throughout Europe in many ports. Also doing the ocean from Norway to Fort Lauderdale. Now this is in the 60s, before GPSs and other technology. So thank God for the stars, because that's how they made it here. Being the good Christian, and Pat was, she understood the need for the homeless and those other people that were in need of help. But she knew that to really help these people, they had to have a job or a trade, right? So she formed her charity, the Second Chance Society. Now, she decided that her charity, Second Chance, would pay for the things a person might need to start a job. We hope the Second Chance will be carried on for many years, and that people in this community will remember what all she has done for them. And I will always remember what a wonderful sister she was to me.
Mona Pittenger.
I was familiar with endowed funds, but I never thought I wanted to give up that level of control. But in this particular situation, after having seen how well the Community Foundation stewarded the Mary Porter funds, which are significant, got me thinking about how I might want to modify my estate plans and how I might want to go ahead and start that relationship with the Community Foundation of Broward while I'm alive and active and can be engaged in setting, policies and see how the organization does things and participate in that, as well as have a long-term legacy. I have always believed in leadership. I think it's important for all people to know how to lead, men, women, just everybody on the planet can develop better leadership skills. And I think it's important that those are taught because not everybody has an example of that. So the leadership part was sort of intuitive for me and was just an obvious need. The racial equity, diversity, and inclusion piece for me is super important. Whether they were gay, whether they are black, whether they grew up in an economically challenged environment, those people need to be lifted up in a way that they can exploit the same opportunities that I've been able to exploit as a woman. And so I want to just make sure that there's money and funding and opportunity going to those underrepresented groups. And I think a diversified and inclusive world is the best kind of world to live in, and that's the kind of world I want to live in. So the only way to make that happen is to put money where your mouth is.
Leo and Alice Rutten.
They were very sweet, nice couple, always caring for others. They moved to Florida in 1971 and helped people in the building all the time. And Uncle Leo was extremely philanthropic, starting with his service in World War II. He never wanted to talk much about it until just before he died.
Kay and I were thrilled to death when we found out that they had made this bequest that will allow the foundation to continue the great work that it's done in the Fort Lauderdale area.
They were quiet people. They didn't brag. Things were done quietly. But for some reason, they met up with Community Foundation of Broward. And through a number of different meetings, you must have been impressive. Alice is a hard sell. And I know it started out as a small gift, and then it kept going and going and going. And she said, I found the place.
Barry and Judy Silverman.
Barry and Judy Silverman Family Fund at the Community Foundation of Broward establishes permanent support for growing educational opportunities in Broward, as well as advocating for Jewish people everywhere. Barry served in Vietnam as an orthopedic trauma surgeon on the battlefield in the tents. He was a real MASH doctor. He continued to practice here in South Florida and also went on to some business ventures. And he and Judy are just literally the dynamic duo. They find joy in art, in their grandchildren, and in healthcare and in the Jewish community.
Ladies and gentlemen, the stars of Broward are 2022 Community Builders.